Hello everyone, I welcome you all to our channel Let's Learn Automation, and in this session we are going to see a special kind of method that is called as a constructor. In a previous session we have seen the method and its types, and now let's see the constructor. First of all, we'll try to clear the concept about the constructor. Constructor is a special member function because its name is same as the name of the class. So it is just like a method, but the difference is that for method we can use any name, but for a constructor we need to use the name of the class itself. It is also a block of code just like a method. As whenever we use the method, we need to call it by using the class name or by using the object, depending upon the method is static or non-static. But in the case of constructor, we don't need to call the constructor, because whenever we create the object of constructor, it automatically get called. Constructor will never return any value, even it will not use void. Just like a method, method can return the integer or string or a character type of value, but constructor cannot return any type of value. Then even we cannot use abstract, static, and even final keyword with the constructor. We can use these keyword with the method, but not with the constructor. Whenever we create the constructor and object is created, so at that time actual memory is allocated for that constructor whenever we create the object. And basically constructor it's same like a method. Then there may be a question that if we already have a method, then what is the need of constructor? Basically constructor is used to initialize the data member of, or the variable. Why? Because if we declare some variable like any employee details, we can say that, and to initialize all those detail we can use the constructor. In method we implement some logic, write down some code, and that is going to execute, or we have formalized any feature, but that is not going to happen with the constructor. Constructor is used to initialize the data member of variable, because whenever we are going to create the object, it get automatically called. There is no need to call it explicitly just like a method. So that's why it is very helpful to initialize the data member or variable. There are two types of constructor basically. The one is called as a default constructor, which do not have any parameter, and the second one is called as a parameterized constructor. So these are the two constructor we have. One contain the parameter and one does not contain the parameter. So let's try to implement the constructor. First of all, we'll declare some variable, like we can say that global or instance variable. So for example, if we are going to consider about the details of employee, then integer employee id, we can say that string name double salary. So these are the three global or instance variable which are available inside the class but outside the method. Now we are going to create the constructor. As we have seen in the first line that it is a special member function because its name is same like a name of the class. So I will copy the name of the class and will create the method like this, called as a constructor. Now this constructor does not have any parameter, so that's why it is called as a default constructor. Now if we try to use integer over here, it gives the error and it says that add return statement. So if I add return statement like this, then this is not constructor now. Now this become method. Why it become method? Because constructor is automatically called whenever we create the object. For example, if I try to create the object like x, this is the reference variable, and now if I try to execute this, then I am not getting any output, because this is method that needs to be called explicitly. This is not, we can say that, a constructor. So even if I try to print like uh, print this, and now if I try to run it, then it is not going to execute because now this is method. Why this is method? As its name is same like a class name, but still why I'm calling this as a method? Because I'm using the return type over here. If I use the return type, then this become the method. So now if I need to call this, then I can call like, so here x dot constructor, and if I execute, now I am getting print this. So what it means? This is what the method that needs to be called explicitly by using the object of class. Constructor never need any object or a class name to get called. So that's why this is not a constructor, this is the method. Now if I try to create the constructor like this, and here I'm printing constructor. Now I'm not going to call it. Okay, I am directly executing this. So after execution, the constructor automatically get called. We can directly see the output, that is println statement. So it means that constructor automatically get called whenever object got created. If I comment this, then also it will be called. Here we can see that the output. So it means that this is what the constructor, and it get automatically called whenever the object got created. But this is not constructor, this is method, because we are using, or we have used the return type over here, by which it become the method. Now we are going to concentrate on a constructor. I will delete this and will delete this. So again I will try to use the constructor from the start. Now we need to create the constructor, so I will use the name of the class over here. So this is my constructor which does not have any parameter. Now I'm not going to use integer word, otherwise that will become method again. Here this constructor is used to initialize the data member or variable. We have just seen here that this is used to initialize the data member or variable. Now I can initialize it like 101, then name equal to Harry, then salary equals to 70,000. In this way I just initialize all the data member. Now only initialization it will not work. I need to print all this thing. For execution I will create one method, public void and show. This is the name of the method. We can use any method. Then I will display like id plus some space, then name, some space again, and salary. This method is going to print the values of all the data member. Now I will create the object of this class. So we know that by using new keyword we can create the object just like this. We need to store this into a one of the reference. So that's why here I will use x as a reference, and here as a data type I will use the same class name. Now this is what the reference variable, and now if I try to execute this, then only these things get initialized. Okay, but we need to print it, and printing will not done until we will call this method explicitly. Okay, so basically by creating the object we have called the constructor and all the variables are get initialized, but there is no printing statement over here, so that's why we are not getting any output. And now if I want to print the output, then I need to call this method by using the object like x dot show. Now if I execute, then I will get 101 Harry and all the things. So in this way we can create the default constructor. So default constructor does not have any parameter, and we use the constructor to initialize the data member or the variable of the class. We have used the show method to print all the data member value, and In main, we have created first of all the object of the class which automatically call the default constructor, and all the value get initialized, and then to print all this value I just call the show method by using the same object. Now this is what the default constructor, so I will write down here. Now there is one more thing. Whenever we need to call the constructor, or whenever we are creating the object, the constructor is automatically called, and we are going to call this method separately to print the thing. And for that I just use the reference variable. But also we can do one more thing. For example, I created the object like this, so this is the object. As let's comment this first, and we will concentrate on the this thing. In this way I created the object. If I run this, then this will automatically called, but we are not getting any output because there is no printing line. So if I add any printing line like this, then if I execute, then I will get the output like constructor. It means that this is what the object, okay, it means that this is what the object, this is only reference or a variable, we can say that, of type class. We can make use of this object to call this method too, just like if I use this like dot show, and if I execute, then I am getting the output. What it mean that actually this is the object, and we can call the method by using the object. But the problem is that every time it is not good to use this particular code. So that's why we use one reference variable. Because for example, if I need to call this object multiple time, or if there are multiple methods are available which I need to call by using the object of the class, so every time I need to write down all this line. But if I created the reference variable, then I can call just like reference variable and the method. Just like for example, if I comment this x dot show, so this particular line have the same meaning just like this. But the thing is what, this is what the shorter line, so that's why we use reference or the variable of type class, by which our code will be a shorter one. So this is what the real object we have, and this is what the reference variable or the variable of type class. Now this is what the constructor we have seen, but this is what default constructor. Let's see the parameterized constructor. So again, we know that what is meant by constructor. Whenever we are using the same class name as the name of the method, then that is called as a constructor. So again, I need to use the same class name over here, because I am going to see now the parameterized constructor. So here I will use the parameter like integer employee ID, then string employee name, and double employee salary. So these are the three parameter I'm using over here. And now in a previous constructor we have initialized in the constructor, but now we can initialize by using the parameter too, or we can initialize all the data member by parameter. So here I will assign this employee ID to this ID. So ID equals to employee ID, then name equals to employee name, and salary equals to employee salary. In this way, whatever the parameter I'm going to pass whenever I'm going to call this constructor, so that parameter will be assigned to this ID, name and salary. And when I call this method, it get executed, and I will get the output. I will create another object. So I will just copy this line to save the time, and object name y, here I will write down like or, so you are able to understand that we can use this one or this one. And I will delete this now. Okay, we'll comment this. We have two constructor. One is default constructor and the second one is parameterized constructor. So this is parameterized constructor. So now I want that this constructor should get called, not this one. If I want that a constant value or the same value should be assigned, then I will call or I will create the object for the default constructor. But if I think that I should pass the values through the parameter, then this constructor should get called. So to call this constructor, I need to supply or provide the value just like this, like employee ID 100, then name Ron, and the salary 60,000.34. So now if I execute this, so this is going to execute and this will going to assign the values of id, name and salary, but we need to call the show method to for output, because that is only the method which is going to print the output. So if I execute this, then I am getting 100 ron and 60,000. So if we want to call the parameterized constructor, then we need to provide the parameter value over here, and if we create the object just like a blank, just like this, then the default constructor is going to call. So this is what the constructor, and in this program we have seen the default parameterized constructor, and also we have seen one concept like we can make use of this thing or this thing, it depend upon us, but this is the shortcut, so we prefer this way. So thank you.